video, and today, yes today, I'm going to be starting a new YouTube series called Counterpicking in League of Legends. What to counterpick with, what to use, because I don't see a lot of videos on YouTube talking specifically about what you're supposed to counterpick with and how exactly to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about a couple of things beforehand. So today's episode, for my first episode, I'm going to be going over one of the most frequent picks I see at the lower ratings, because she's extremely easy to play, and I just see her either picked or banned almost every single game, and that is Ahri. Today we're going to be talking about the female anatomy. I mean Ahri. Whatever. Let's continue. So, as you can see, Ahri has a pretty low attack damage, so her auto attack isn't going to be doing that much damage to you. Now, before we talk about who exactly to counter Ahri with, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things beforehand that you guys need to include in your solo queue game mindset. So one of the first things that I think people need to start doing more of is, I feel like you guys need to play champions that you're really, really good at. Okay? So before you start trying to watch these videos and trying to counterpick, make sure that you know how to play these champions really well, or at least to a relatively good standard. This isn't going to be perfect. I can tell you the exact counterpick to Ahri, and you can still lose if you don't follow the instructions. So, here we go. Let's talk about the skins first. This is obviously the best skin Ahri has. I want it so bad, and I didn't get a chance to get it when it was actually out. Challenger Ahri is the best looking skin by far. Coming up pretty soon, there will be a new skin for Ahri called the Academy Ahri, which actually looks pretty good too. So let's talk about Ahri's abilities, and then we'll talk about how to counterpick her. So her passive is called Essence Theft. Now what this does is, I'm going to briefly go over her spells. So basically, every time a spell hits an enemy, she gains a charge. Okay? Now once she reaches 9 charges, her next spell heals when it hits an enemy. So basically, the short version of that is, you cast spells and you get a charge. Once the charge reaches 9 stacks, your next spell will heal you. Now this spell must hit an enemy, and it's displayed by a green ball in your hand instead of a blue ball. Blue ball. Anyways, let's continue. Ahri's Q is called Orb of Deception. Now this is a very complex ability as they describe it, but it's a very simple ability when I describe it. So basically, she hurls a ball and then the ball comes back. Okay? Now on the way to the opponent, the ball deals magic damage. But on the way back to Ahri, the orb deals true damage. And as you can see, it deals the same amount of damage. The only difference is that on the way to the opponent, as you can see here, Ahri's throwing it at a Talon. On the way to Talon, it's going to hit for magic damage. This means that the orb can be blocked by things like magic resistance. But on the way back to Ahri, the ball cannot be blocked by any resistances. So it's going to deal this amount of damage guaranteed. So basically, if you want to hit your spells effectively, try to make sure that if you can't hit it on the way there, make sure you try to hit it on the way back. This is also a skill shot based ability, so your opponents have a chance to dodge the entire thing. So you got to make sure you time your Qs pretty well, and also you usually take this at level 1, and it costs a lot of mana to actually cast, so make sure that you're paying attention to your mana. Ahri's W is called Foxfire. This is a relatively low cost spell, and the one that I maxed third. What it basically does is, Ahri gets 3 floating orbs around her, and they will lock on to enemies nearby. This prioritizes champions. So what basically happens is that if there are no champions near Ari when she casts her W, then all of the orbs will hit minions or neutral monsters or things like that. However, if an enemy is nearby when she casts her W, if they're within that 700 range, then those 3 orbs are guaranteed to hit the opponent. Now, for each Foxfire that hits the opponent, it multiplies the damage that it deals. So as you can see, the first charge will be 40 damage. So if you hit an opponent with 1 Foxfire, it deals 40 damage. And then you take 30% more damage for each other Foxfire that hits the enemies. So you hit them for 40, then you hit them for 30% more than that, and then you hit them for 30% more than that. So you continuously hit them over and over again. This isn't a great ability, I think, to max first or second, because Charm is just way more important, and you'll see why in a moment. Ari's E is called Charm. Now Ari, basically all she does is she throws a giant heart at the enemy, and it makes them walk towards her for 1 second at rank 1, all the way up to 2 seconds at rank 5. Now this deals a flat amount of magic damage per level, scaling with ability power, and basically it's the ability that you want to dodge the most, because it's really hard for Ari to actually land her Orb of Deception if the opponent is paying attention. And Foxfire is usually only used on melee enemies because it's very hard to hit a ranged person with Foxfire. Well, her Charm actually puts you in range. So if she lands a Charm on you, she's probably going to throw her Orb out, then she's going to throw her Foxfires out, and it's going to hit you for a ton of damage. Now Ari's R ability is called Spirit Rush. This is basically what she does is she dashes 3 times either towards or away from the enemy target, depending on what you want to do. It doesn't really matter. As she dashes, she fires 3 Essence Bolts that prioritizes champions. This deals a flat amount of magic damage. And this can be used to escape ganks. This can be used to go in on your opponent. Let's say they're hiding behind their minions. If you want to get it within charm range, you can dash towards them with Spirit Rush, and then you still have 2 charges, so you can dash away if somebody comes to gank you, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So now let's talk about how you counter her. Well, the first thing we need to look at when counterpicking against Ari, well, counterpicking in general, most of you are going to be like, Brandon, I'm in Bronze Elo. Everybody plays Blitzcrank Yorick every game. Well, for all you Yorick fans, hobble your way over here and let's learn. Okay, so first we're going to learn how to counterpick all of these abilities, and then I'm going to tell you guys the champion that I would most frequently pick against her. Well, what do you think would neutralize all of this ability power? Ari's Orb of Deception. It's a pretty easy skill shot to dodge. It has a long range, and there's no way for you to shorten the range of it as Ari. So, as Ari, if you throw it out and you miss both going there and coming back, then there's nothing that she can do about it. Ari's Foxfire is really hard to land against anyone who's a caster because they're not in range of her. So if she casts Foxfire, it's not going to be landing on ranged champions very easily. Ari's Charm can be neutralized a couple of different ways that I'll talk about in a little bit after I tell you what I think the counterpick is. And Ari's Spirit Rush can be neutralized by crowd control effects, such as prisons or stuns or anything like that. But what you have to remember about Ari's Spirit Rush is she has 10 seconds to use Spirit Rush 3 times. So if you neutralize her or you stun her on the first charge, she still has an extra 7 seconds to keep dashing backwards. So remember that when you're playing. Now what I want you guys to do right now, just talking about that, is I want you to pause this video and I want you to tell me what you guys think the counter pick to Ahri is, based off of this information that I've given you. Alright, here we go. So my counter pick to Ahri is mid lane Morgana. And you guys are going to be like, what? Mid lane Morgana? GG, LOL, OMG. Why would I play mid Morgana? She costs so much. She's $13.50. I'll just wait till she's on sale. Whoa, 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 guys. Calm down. Mid lane Morgana is a counter pick to Ahri in almost every single way because of Morgana's abilities to get around. Now, I'm going to tell you guys why I believe Morgana is a counter pick to her. The first reason is because Morgana's Q is called Dark Binding, and all of you guys know how Morgana works. Morgana's Q is called Dark Binding. If Ahri decides she wants to Spirit Rush and try to dash away from you, all you have to do is throw out a Dark Binding and bind her in place. Now, even if she manages to somehow get out of that and have extra charges on Spirit Rush, you can still bind her almost again. And even if you can't bind her again or find some way to get rid of her, you will force her out of lane, almost guaranteed. Now what you're going to do is you're going to bind her, then you're going to throw your E underneath her, which is called, I believe it's called something like Desecrated Ground. And all of you know what it does. It shoots this giant pool of acid down, and it deals a huge amount of damage to opponents over time. This completely negates Spirit Rush and almost guarantees that you're going to get the kill. Morgana's W is called Spell Shield, and or I don't know if it's called Spell Shield, whatever it's called. Her W is called Spell Shield, and basically every time Ahri tries to throw a charm at you, all you have to do is put that Spell Shield on yourself, and it completely absorbs the charm. So there's absolutely no way that Ahri should be landing charms on you if you're able to cast a shield that completely negates her charm effects. So you've negated Spirit Rush, you've completely negated Charm. Foxfire is... Morgana is never going to be in range for her to actually cast that on you. So the only thing you have to focus on is the Orb of Deception. There's no way for you to actually get rid of the Orb of Deception, but it is a very easy skill shot to dodge if you're paying attention. So just try to dodge the Orb of Deception. Every time you see a charm come out, put that Spell Shield on yourself. And every time you see her start to Spirit Rush, just make sure you bind her. And boom, complete counter pick. Now most of you are going to be like, why would I play mid lane Morgana? You know, I don't know how to play Morgana. Well, okay, there's a couple different options that I have for you guys when it comes to prioritizing what to pick against Ahri. The first of which is, if you say, okay, well, I don't have Morgana, or I don't know how to play Morgana, one of the things I would suggest you do is, whatever champion you do decide to play against Ahri, I would make sure that it's able to dodge her charm pretty effectively. Because one of the things I would suggest you do is build boots on whatever character you decide to take. Boots are very good for you to try to dodge her skill shots, and boots are a very effective item when trying to not get hit by those types of things. The second thing that I would do is I would take the summoner spell Cleanse. Now what Cleanse does is it removes all movement impairing effects and all control impairing effects. So if you're playing a champion that's not Morgana and you can't absorb that charm, if you get hit by that charm, then you can use Cleanse to completely get rid of that 1 second, that 1 second walk towards her. So taking the summoner spell Cleanse is a very good way for you to get out of that. Also, one thing about Ahri is that I think she has a harder time against melee matchups, because if you're playing a caster and you go against Ahri, casters usually give Ahri more time for her to land her charm because they're trying to stay as far away as she is. If you have somebody that's getting all up in her face and doesn't let her cast her abilities, then it's going to be a lot harder for her to actually hit her charm. So yeah, my suggestion is mid lane Morgana, and if you guys don't have Morgana or you don't know how to play her, then make sure that you build boots on your character extremely early, and make sure that you take the summoner spell Cleanse, because you want to have the ability to get out of her charm if you do get hit by it. Alright guys, well that wraps it up for this episode. Please leave in the comments what you want to see next and what character you want me to talk about next. I am going to be starting mostly on mid laners since I am a mid lane main. So we're going to be starting on mostly mid laners, but eventually after that we will get into all the different champions in the game, and we will be focusing on all of those different things. So the last thing I want to talk about when speaking about Ahri is that Ahri is very good in team fights. If you get charmed by an Ahri during a team fight, it's pretty much impossible for you to get out. But if you have things like Cleanse and you have things that are going to save your life, make sure that you use those things. Also, you can use stuff like Zanya's or QSS, or I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Counterpunch, and you guys have